Oh, hello, me again. So she's on the track. I built a tender. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, it still needs a little tweaking. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with those. The rubber section that's in the drive shafts, it kind of screws up the low speed. I need to get some rubber that's more flexible but won't twist to free up the drivetrain at low speeds. But she's not bad. So it's got dual motors in it. They're only 3-pole each one. The 5-pole motors that I have are a little too big to fit in there. So I'm gonna get the same size motor that's 5 poles and cut the back shaft off. But for now, that's what's in there. It's really way too fast. I mean, that's top speed right there. But it doesn't need to be that fast, so I'm going to change the motors. It'll have maybe 10,000 RPM in it, and there'll be a 5-pole, so it'll run better at a slow speed. But we'll get to that later on. But see how it kind of chugs a little bit, low speed. It's still, like I said, that's at a little bit less than 4 volts. It's not too bad. You can hear the motors humming. That's because this is the MRC Tech 3, and it uses basically a pulse power type of system. I don't really know the real technical name of it, but it causes the motors to hum. Like some of the cheap Bachmans don't have that. Those controllers don't make it run, and it actually runs better at a low speed. I don't know why, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So that's the tender that I posted a video earlier today. I decided to make the tender. That is 2 464 tenders chopped. You can see where I cut them, extended them. I took this off, flipped it upside down, and dropped it down so there'd be a little bit of a ledge in there. I cut the rear. I had 2 bottom of the tenders, bottom floors, so I cut 2 of them, and strategically, so I wouldn't have to add plastic, and just made it the right length. And then, of course, I added this hump, which I had to cut a small opening in. The hump should have been a little bit wider, but it's all good. So this is what it looks like here. You can see where it's cut and bonded together. And then there's sections. So I got to belt sand all the water sand all the rivets off, because this thing needs to be smooth. So on the back, I'll leave the light there. I'll add 2 marker lights. I think I gotta get, no, the ladder, the steps stay there, and then the back side looks like this. It'll look a lot better when there's some color on it, instead of all patched up. But yeah, it needs a little bit of body work. But the train will run without it, because the front truck picks up power on the left side. Fireman side, the rear drivers pick up power, kind of like a big boy. On the engineer side, and then the tow bar is power from the engineer side. Now, I probably will split the difference and have one truck pick power up on one side and one on the other, because this train here, because I had a 464, got to put that screw back in, a 464, and I cut it. The power only picked up on this wheel. You can see the little silver thing. So what that is that's brass. Took it out of another pieces parts train, and it's underneath the screw. It's actually glued onto the metal frame, the bottom, because I wanted to see if it worked, and then I put the screw in it. It did work, so I will scratch it down and solder it in place. So every time I take the cover off, the contacts stay where they belong. But it didn't run that great with just one wheel picking up power. The track's not perfect, so this side, I took these front wheels off and I flipped them because I needed it to pick up power on the opposite side of what the locomotive originally did. And of course, I left this truck here is not a Berkshire truck. I don't know where it came from. Actually, it might be a Berkshire. It might be an old Berkshire, the one with the square motors in it. So anyway, I had to clean that up to get power to run, to make sure power was picking up where the rivet goes. It was a little rusty and dusty. So anyway, we got that going. So that's pretty much it. Took me a little over a week to build this, a couple days here and a couple days there. And it runs for the it's only been running for a day and a half, so I really haven't had a chance to tweak it. Usually when I build a locomotive, I build the drivetrain first and then make the shell to make sure that the shell will fit. This one here, like I said earlier, I had a Broadway Limited. I got this piece here off of eBay. And I made the nose and I made the cab out of Lexan. The front of the nose is made out of PVC and Lexan, and there are stairs in there that you probably can't see, but they're in there. And obviously there's the cow catcher or whatever the term is. And I cut the windows out. Originally I didn't have a motor in the cab, but now that there is a motor, I will put windows in there, but I'll sand them down so they're just foggy. Because there is a motor in there. And originally I planned on, I don't know if we can film that in say the motor. So I'm going to change the motors and put, this motor here is no good. This is a good 5-pole motor though, but it was dead out of the box. I bought 5 of them. And one of them was defective. This thing drains like 1.5 amps, or no, about 1 amp. So it's no good. It's junk. But I'm going to change the motors to these. These are 5-pole motors. I'll swap those motors out. But they're dual shaft, so I'll have to cut the back shaft off. So that's that. Now this is the original one I built. This was the first train I ever built. This was the first one I ever built, and I just did it. The shell is made out of plastic tubing, drain pipe tubing for like a bathroom sink. And then the all this piece here on the top was made out of PVC. And then these pieces were made out of Lexan. I plotted them on a computer. And I just did it by photographs. I didn't really have measurements or anything like that. So I kind of winged it. And as rough it is as it is, because it really is rough. Look at it. This thing runs really good. It creeps. It runs really well. This was the tender that I built, which I believe is a little too long. Maybe not. Yeah. But it came out good, you know. It wasn't perfect, but it came out pretty good. Like I said, it was the first train that I ever built, and I was pretty happy with the way it worked out. But this is the difference between this one and this one. There's not that much difference. I actually, now that I look at it, did a better job than I thought. You know? This one is a little too tall. The nose, this piece here is not, it's way up in the ground, way up off the track. It looks kind of funny. I might have to fix that. But I just figured I'd take another crack at it. This one has dual motors too, but the rear truck doesn't articulate, so I had to take the drivers off, which I hated. I hate doing that. And I said, well, if I ever build another one, I am going to make both front and rear truck articulate about 1/8 of an inch, and that's what I did to make it work. On this one, only the front articulates. So when it goes through the corners, this thing here really swings out. Where on this locomotive, it barely swings out. And this one here, I had to shave down the top of the pistons to clear all this. This one here, I did a much better job at figuring out where everything needed to be before I actually, I kind of planned it out on the computer. I had the measurements from another Rivarossi 464, so I knew how high everything needed to be and how long everything needed to be, and to make it have the least amount of problems. The only thing I didn't plan out was the motor. I thought one motor in the middle was going to be good enough, but unfortunately I only had a very small space between the motors and the axle, the shaft coming out of the transmissions for the Rivarossi. So there wasn't enough play for it to articulate. So what would happen is the hose would cause thickness of the hose, the rubber line I was using for a drive shaft would cause the front to gyrate back and forth a little bit, and it drove me nuts. So I probably could have just stopped what I was doing and found something that was more flexible, but I said, screw it, I'm going to just put 2 motors in it, and that's what I did. And this thing's a rocket ship. But once I change the motors, it'll slow it down and it'll give it more, it'll definitely make it run better at slower speeds. And 5-pole motors aren't as noisy as the 3-pole motors, so you can get rid of some of that hum. Anyway, thank you for watching, and have a good evening.